Hey guys, this is Hell Hades. This is a Raid Shadow Legends video. Gotta love the new loading in page there. This is on the test server again, so I'm going to go through some of the relic stuff on the test server, probably a day before we actually get it in the live now. So we're basically at a point where everything is dropping in game for real tomorrow, including the two buffs for like Gamaran and Opardin, who's actually a barbarian. I don't know if you guys saw my short. I couldn't find him. I couldn't find him the other day. Anyway, so on the test server here, obviously the Chimera is active. A few people starting to come out with some cool different teams. I see Bronco been at it again, doing some great work, just looking at what actually works for this boss. Also, I've seen a few people kind of like comment, HH, be aware, there's not fragments for every chest. So this is Ultra Nightmare, and there is for the low level ones, but I thought he said actually on the lower levels there are not. There are on each of those so far. And there. And there. And there. Looks like to me they're on all the chests. So it looks like you do get fragments in all the chests. One thing I also didn't call out on my video yesterday is that don't forget, if your clan actually beats up the boss, you will get double rewards. You're not guaranteed fragments each time. There's 5 of the following rewards. So obviously out of what's this 4, 8. So it's a 5 out of 8 chance you'll get fragments. But I think you would get a pretty steady stream, 2 keys a week. Hopefully double chests for a lot of people that are active. And yeah, I think eventually you'll get that champion relatively quickly. So before we get into the juicy stuff about relics, I just want to call out, there's a really cool video that's just dropping today on Fateless on our YouTube channel, where it goes through some of my journey from content creator to game developer, talks through some of the landmarks we're looking to hit in terms of closed beta launch early next year, in terms of the dates we're looking to have global launch of Godforge, and it shows you some of the different things that we're doing in development. So I'll link that video down below. Make sure you check it out. Okay then, so in the Forge, we've got the relic crafting active. You can see I've now got a whole bunch of free materials that Raid have thrown me for the test server. And we've also now got, I believe, all of the relics in the test server. And, although it doesn't feel like that many, and all of the socket gems. Okay, yeah, just had a check. It does look like we've got all of them. So you've got different relics here. You've got the standard relics, and then you've got the Chimera relics. And you're going to have kind of like different crafting materials to be able to sort of develop these things. You can see in the Forge here, depending on the combination of materials you put in. So if I put 4 lots of weak sauce, I've still got a 0.01% chance to get a mythical piece or a mythical relic. And you can see, obviously that will then change. So if I took 2 out and went 2 epic pieces, kind of like basically starts to move the dial slowly. Slowly, right? If I took all of those out and went all epic here, was that still just me a 60% chance of a rare piece, but then goes up to like 36 for 0.05. And if we went all the way up, in fact, they're still all gold. So suddenly the rare ones drop out, and it's still only a 0.5% chance of a mythical. And if I had all mythical stuff, it's 20% chance of a mythical, 80% chance of a legendary. And you can see here, in terms of the chances of the different ones that you would get, it's just 50-50 between the standard and the Chimera ones. I guess the Chimera ones are meant to be the more powerful. We'll have a look in a sec. But yeah, obviously the type of resource that you get from the Chimera massively changes this. Now you can get all of these different materials from doing those kind of like challenges on a weekly basis. What's interesting about the challenges is when you're fighting the boss, let's just get a fight going with anyone. The trials here. You can actually see the trials information. So obviously you can pre-see it and get your teams ready that are going to do some work. But you can, is it here? Yeah. So you can see what's going on in terms of the boss. And then you can also see what you need to do to be able to beat a trial. And ultimately, once you've done it, it will straight away during the battle tick over to the next level of that trial, so that you can see again what that and you can see the reward that you would get for that. So on easy here, I don't know if it changes ever. depending on the level of Chimera I'm fighting. I don't think so. Let me just come out. That was all rare and epic stuff that you could earn from trials there. I think it's the trials are the trials, and you get different materials elsewhere. Oh no, I'm wrong. Okay, so if I was fighting on Ultra Nightmare, then instantly I'd be able to earn some of the mythical eyeballs. What are they calling it? Ocular. I'm just going to call them eyeballs. You can earn the different level eyeballs. So obviously fighting higher levels is where you're going to get the better materials if you're able to do so. So that makes a lot of sense. Let's take a look then at what we've got. Each hero, I guess, can just equip any of them. Costs stuff to unequip. I think any hero can equip any. So it doesn't matter which one it is. You can choose out of the, in total, if you had all of them, 12 standard and 11 Chimera. So 23 relics that you could choose. That's one element of choice. And then what I don't know is if they always had the same stats. I think they always have different stats depending on what you roll. Let's just roll a couple quickly and just check, actually. So let's just roll some big boy ones. I'm just going to keep a bunch of them. Obviously, I'm getting, these are all 3-star. I don't know if that's just what a relic is. I think some of them are higher star level. 3-star again. Just go for a different one. 2-star, is that just because it's an epic? 2-star for an epic. Let's just see if I get a rare one. If that's 1-star. Yeah, okay, so that's just basically the rarity and the star level, I think, are the same thing. Let's just see where I've got a duplicate here. 1-star, 1-star. 3-star, 3-star. At this moment in time, with a very small amount of rolling, I've always got the same star level based on the same piece. And I guess the star level depicts how many gems you can socket into it. Okay, so the rarity and the star level, as far as I can see here, are the exact same thing. They give you the same meaning. And then obviously, let's just have a look here. So this one started with HP. This one also started with HP as a duplicate. This one, accuracy. This one also accuracy with resistance, So it looks like they always, for the same ones, will always roll the same stats across the board here. Let's just see if I upgrade it to 9 quickly. Do they always end up with the same numbers? 204, 204. Yeah, so they're identical. It's not like, oh, I can get a good roll on my relic. According to what I'm seeing in the test server, very early looking, but looks like they're always going to be identical in terms of stats. And then why couldn't I? So I needed to upgrade the rank to then be able to upgrade its level. Is it this one I just did? Yeah. And so that upgrades the other stats. Upgrade the rank again. Looks like it's almost like character type shard things here, which again are drops from the Chimera. Upgrade its level. How far does this go? Upgrade its rank. Now with 5-star ones. Upgrade its level. Very much like a hero. Okay. And then it's maxed out. So a maxed out piece plus 18 maxes out here for like another 400 attack, 21% crit damage, and 6 speed for this particular relic. I mean, it's not insignificant in terms of stat gain. It's like half of the stat gain you get from a high blessing in terms of numbers. You know, if I was to look at someone who's got, let's take a 4-star Fushan with a blessing. In terms of stats, he's getting 750 attack, 38% crit damage. Obviously, there's more stats involved in blessings, but yeah, the relics feel like half of the stats that you want for that particular role. So, of a good blessing, which, again, like I say, it's not insignificant. Blessings make a massive difference to your power creep. So let's talk about what we got then. So the mythical ones in the standard area, we got the Hallowed Hilt here is whenever the hero heals an ally with an active skill, 25% chance to place fervor buff on the ally. Do we know what that even is? Okay, I had to hunt for where we find buffs and debuffs. This is some hidden stuff here. So any champion that places a debuff, there's like a more info button here that takes you to this page. So let's see if the new ones are even in here. So yeah, here's one, here's one, here's one. A bunch of these are going to be from the Chimera itself as well. So fervor here. Increases damage inflicted by 10% and reduces damage received by 10%. So this is a flipping crazy already. So your damage dealers do 10% more damage and they receive 10% less damage for this one. Also, I noticed here there's a little info button. So your chance to apply goes up by 5% for each level that you get. So whenever the wearer heals an ally with an active skill, it's actually going to end up being a 50% chance, I think, unless I've already just buffed that up through leveling it. It's either a 40 or 50% chance to place further on that ally, which is giving them damage reduction for one turn. So it's not like it's out there for a long time. But yeah, I mean, this is a great support item already. So wearer places magma shield buff for 2 turns at the start of battle. And you also get a magma shield buff on the wearer for 2 turns whenever they lose 25% of their HP. And the shield strength goes up by basically 10% at max. So let's have a quick look at what the hell magma shield is. Magma shield is not in there, so I've got no idea what that means. Okay, I didn't add that one in. The third one here, wearer has a 25% chance to reflect basically any control abilities, and that goes up to 40 or 50, depending on what this means. So just a full throwing back all of the nasty debuffs to an enemy. 50% chance. Fourth one here, when wearer receives fatal damage, reduces it by 50% of their turn meter. When wearer receives fatal damage, gonna be dead, reduces it by 50% of their turn meter, and then fully reduces their turn meter. So what? So I'm confused by what this means. When wearer receives fatal damage, so would be dead, reduces that damage by 50% of their turn meter, and then fully reduces their turn meter. Okay, so what I'm assuming here is when you've got, let's say you've got 100% turn meter or like 70% turn meter, it's going to reduce the damage by half of that turn meter you've got, let's say 35%, and then it's going to wipe your turn meter out to 0. I think that's what's going on. Interesting mechanic, honestly. Very weird. The damage reduction goes up to 100% of the turn meter that you've got. So if you are basically max turn meter, then I believe you take 0 damage instead of dying, and your turn meter gets reset to 0. Think. Okay, golden elixir. Wearer is instantly healed by 10%, which goes up to 20 when the HP drops below 50. This is an epic one. Wearer's turn meter increases by 10% whenever one of their ally dies. Could be 20. This would be good for like a reviver type champ, especially with the sort of stats you've got there, like even like a Duchess or a Pythian. Interesting. We've got a defensive one here. Wearer's defense increases by 1% each time they receive damage, up to 10%, and it goes up to 20. It's okay. Wearer deals 2% more damage if under any debuffs. This is quite good for a rare one, actually. So it goes up to 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8% more damage with good stats. That'll be good for like your basic, you know, rare attackers or epic damage dealers when you're getting your early stuff. Just straight up more damage. Wearer receives less damage. This is good for supports. Again, basically similar to what we just seen. Wearer heals and turn meter increase effects applied are boosted by 15%. That goes up to another 9. So like 24. Sorry, no, not 9. 15. So like 30% more effective. Sounds like that's a lot. So if Arbiter was boosting your turn meter by 35%, you get like another 10, 11% added on. I mean, it's not bad, honestly. It's not bad for a rare one. Or actually, depends if this is just, it is a plus rather than a multiplier. So I think this is straight up just like an extra 15. So it's 30. Pretty good, actually. Wearer receives 5% less damage from enemies under provoke. So I guess that's straight up a like anti-Chimera, you know, like the tank for the head of the Chimera that's taking you down when you're provoked. I can't remember which one it is, but is straight up like an anti-synergy for that. Unholy Grail, wearer deals 2% more damage if under any more debuffs. Goes up to, again, like up to 8. Don't know why you would choose that over just... Oh, it's the same one, actually. Oh, it's if you're under debuffs, not just a straight damage increase. Okay. Both of these are under debuffs, right? Interesting, right? So you only do more damage if you're under debuffs. Could be a good GURP tuck piece here. But yeah, this one is only when you're under debuffs, right? And we've seen this one already. So I guess the mythical ones here are pretty nuts. Like the fervor buff is very, very strong, but it's only for 1 turn. The magma shield we don't know anything about yet as far as I can see. Throwing back debuffs, 50% chance for a support, like control debuffs, is extremely strong. And then this fatal damage one, it's kind of funky, honestly, but you know, it's a way to keep a damage dealer alive, albeit it's not a damage dealer kind of like stat gain. So none of these are really, actually. This is the only damage dealer stat gain out of all of the relics for standard. Yes, these are mainly aimed at like supports and like revivers, that type of thing, or turn meter boosters. So let's look at the Chimera ones. We've got here Gore Crescent, whereas next attack after killing an enemy deals 20% more damage, and that goes up to 30, 40, 50% more damage. So you take someone out, the next hit you do is gonna absolutely slay. It's interesting. That's a legendary one, actually. So let's look at the mythical ones. HP, attack, and defense. Weird stats. Whereas got a 50%, goes up to 100% chance to take 2 turns in a row. If this effect activates, Wearer skips the next turn. Occurs only once per battle. That's interesting. So damn. Literally, if you've got somebody who could set up a whole thing yourself for like the arena, then suddenly they get 2 goes, set you up, and then everyone else goes. Even Arbiter, like, think Arbiter's turn meter boost. She gets double turn meter boost for your team. It's kind of nuts. It's kind of nuts if you max that out. Wow, that's actually insane, to be honest. 2 turns in a row, bam, bam. How's everyone feeling? But then you miss a turn. What do you think of that one? It's quite fun, actually. Stormcaller, Wearer's got a 20%, goes up to 100% again, chance of placing a Stormcall buff on themselves whenever they land a crit. This is definitely a damage one. Stormcall buff, is that in here? Stormcall. Each Stormcall stack increases the damage dealt by a champion by 5%. You can have up to 5 Stormcall stack. So up to 25% more damage. When attacking with 5, places a guaranteed stun on the target and then removes the stacks, and it cannot be resisted. Doesn't say cannot be blocked, but cannot be resisted. So fully maxed out every hit. Whenever they land a critical hit, I'm wondering if you've got an AoE hitter, if they land 4, do you just get 4 stacks? Probably. Which means that you max this out really quick, actually, to stun someone. I guess it's called Stormcaller because is it just straight up meant to be Thor's item? He does a lot of AoE. That's a very cool one as well, actually. Okay. Hand of Uncreation. Looks like support stats. Oh, it's a lot. Look at that. At level 9, you've already got 51 more accuracy coming in. It's a ton, honestly, of extra stats. Wearer reduces the chance of debuff application, buff removal, or skill effects, turn meter reduction effects, and increased skill cooldown effects by up to 20%. So basically anything nasty against you, there's a 1 in 5 if you max this out of it not landing. I don't know if 1 in 5 is that high. The stats will be good. It's definitely for a debuffer type of dude. And then this one was doing more damage. Okay, we then got the epics here. Wearer's got a 10% chance to steal 1 random buff when attacking a target. That goes up to, what, 20, 35%. So 1 in 3, pretty much call it. Chance to steal 1 random buff when attacking. Cannot be resisted. Occurs once per skill. It's quite cool. You've got another epic one here. Wearer's damage increases by 1%, and it's got damage stats. Each time any other champion takes a turn, when the wearer is under Veil or Perfect Veil, stacks up to 30%. Damage bonus resets after the wearer takes a turn. So does this max at 30? No, you get a bit more here. I don't know, maybe 30 is the max, I'm not sure. But basically getting stacking damage as other people are taking a turn. Okay, we've then got another damage one. Wearer damage increases by 1% each time they place a debuff, up to 30%. So again, some of these like synergize really well with some of the blessings. Like this is a great Nature's Wrath type of synergy here. But yeah, whenever placing a debuff, up to 30% more damage. Again, I'm guessing you just get there quicker if you level it up. So instead of increasing by 1% at a time, you're increasing by like 6. So within 5 hits, you're max stacking. We've then got the rare ones. So accuracy and stuff here. Molten Death Bell. Wearer's turn meter increases by 10%, and that goes up to 20 when applying any sort of control debuffs. It's quite good for a rare one again. We've got Wearer's turn meter reduction effects are boosted by 15%. That gets another 15, so by 30. It's okay. We've got Diadem of Undeath. Wearer's defense increases by 1%, which goes up to 6% for each ally under ally protection buff placed by them. Again, that's quite juicy if you've got like 4 or 5 for an early level one. And then Wearer has a 20% chance, which goes up to 30, 40, 50% chance to deal 10% more damage when attacking. Damage and HP stats here. So look, I mean, the relics themselves, some of them are extremely strong. Like the mechanics, almost like you're getting extra skills in your mechanic, or extra passives, I should say. Let's just have a quick look through some of these gemstones as well. So each of these relics, like you've got, this one can have 2 square, 2 round. This one can have 2 round, 2 diamond. Yeah, and obviously you get less slots for the lower level ones. Just seeing here, if let's go to a lower level. So if I've got a rare one, can I slot a mythical gem, for example? Yes, I can. Okay, so that's good to know. So the rarity does not depict where it can go, just the shape. Now we've also got, what we've got here, 5 different types, which again, you know, to find the different types to go into the ones you've got, going to be tricky. Are we seeing all 5 already? Yeah, we are. Okay. So yeah, what we got here, Wearer deals 10% more damage to bosses. Ignore defense effects are 12% less effective against the Wearer. So you can slot a couple of these bad boys in, 24% less effective. Damn. Each time the Wearer is revived, decreases all incoming damage by 10% up to 30. Like, don't forget you can slot 2 of these in. Every time the Wearer kills an enemy, increases their damage dealt by 10% up to 30. The Wearer gains an additional 30 accuracy when attempting to do control, and 30 resistance when enemies are trying to do it against them. Bomb debuffs placed by the Wearer deal 10% more damage. Okay, very situational, but kind of decent. The Wearer deals 10% more damage in dungeons. Okay, they're cool, honestly. They're cool, but damn, it's just so much more to your power. This is definitely it. It's so much more to the power within the game. Bosses deal 5% less damage to the Wearer. The Wearer ignores 5% target's resistance. The Wearer's accuracy increases by 5 whenever an enemy resists. I don't like the idea of it. The Wearer deals 5% more damage against enemies with full health. The Wearer's defense increases by 1% each time they receive a crit. More like a PvE mechanic than PvP, because if you're receiving crits in PvP, you're probably going to be dead. If you receive it, you actually don't receive crits that often in PvE either, so it's just kind of a nothing one. The Wearer's accuracy increases by 3 for each debuff on them, whatever. Turn meter decrease effects are 10% less effective on the Wearer. I guess you can stack these type of things up into the new relics, and then you're kind of working them against the blessing to get, you know, some pretty significant gains here. Let's have a look at the triangle ones then. The Wearer deals 20% more damage against people that are debuffed. Again, goes nicely with the mastery that gives you more damage when people have got these debuffs. When attacking targets under their control or debuffs with their default skill, the Wearer has got a 10% chance to repeat the attack. So if you're attacking just with your A1, so I guess it's if you are attacking someone under a debuff, or you're attacking with your A1 and it's got a debuff, the Wearer's got a 10% chance to go again. Okay. The Wearer's got an 8% chance to gain an extra turn after killing someone. So again, you could push that up to 16%. All of the extra turn mechanics, they're their own thing. So I guess it doesn't go to 16%. I guess if you put 2 of these in, you'd have One 8% chance, another 8% chance, relentless set, another like percentage chance. They're all separate, but obviously you give yourself a better chance of getting it to happen. I don't know if these would add together. I don't know how that would be coded, but I think they would still be separate. The wearer deals 50% more damage when counterattacks. After killing an enemy, the wearer's next attack ignores 12% defense. It's a shame that killing an enemy does not count for Hydra, by the way. If it did, then a lot of these would be even stronger. Increases the wearer's crit damage by 10% for each enemy whose HP is at 50% or lower. Again, very situational. When using multi-hit skills, each consecutive hit after the first one will ignore defense. The wearer has an 8% chance to reset a skill's cooldown if it kills someone in full. Occurs once per skill. Damn, that's insane. When attacking an enemy, increases the wearer's crit rate by 5% for each active debuff on the target placed by the wearer. Don't love the idea of not coming into the level ready to go with crit rate, honestly. The wearer's damage increases by 1% of their total accuracy. Sounds like that's a lot, but it's not really a lot. You're kind of get like 4 or 5% extra damage. I guess it's okay, but if you're building that much accuracy, you can't build damage anyway, so it's kind of like whatever. When using multi-hit skills, each consecutive hit after the first one that the wearer makes will deal 3% more damage. Again, not that great. If no enemy has taken a turn yet, the wearer's first attack will deal 10% more damage. This is good for like speed-tuned arena. The wearer's crit damage increases by 3% for each debuff they are under. Stacks up to 30% if you get a full 10 debuffs against you. Okay, the wearer will ignore 3% of the target's defense if they're under 2 or more debuffs. Okay, let's have a look at these square ones then. Decreases an enemy's speed by 7% if they are under a control. They're really going for these control debuffs. So even slower the sheeps become if you got this one in. Oh no, Drock's gonna hate it. Drock is gonna absolutely hate it. The wearer ignores 15% of the target's resistance when placing provoke. Okay, guess this is more based around this new boss mechanic. Enemies under provoke have a 15% chance to land a weak hit. That's actually kind of massive for the new boss. When attacked, the wearer has a 15% chance to decrease the duration of a random buff on the attacker by 1 turn. Again, if you've got 2 of them, 30%, it's kind of good. If the wearer loses 20% or more of their max HP from a single hit, the next hit received will deal 20% less damage. Could be up to 40 if you've got 2 of these. When attacked with a multi-hit skill, decreases the damage the wearer receives from each hit after the first one by 10%. If the incoming damage will exceed 30% of the wearer's max HP, decreases the damage received by 10%. Man, some of these are quite strong, actually. Increases the wearer's chance of placing debuffs with their default skill by 5%. Their default skill, so only their A1. It's kind of interesting. There's a lot of A1s that are like, 40, 50 odd percent to place a stun. They get an extra 10%. It's okay. I guess maybe it's not that great. The wearer receives 5% less damage from single target attacks. Could be quite good. The wearer receives 15% less damage from counters. The damage received by the wearer decreases by 1% for every 10% HP lost. Kind of whatever, really. When the wearer is attacked, destroys the attacker's max HP by 3% up to 30. Is that like a scarab thing as well? Does that work? It says up to 30, so you're not going to be able to take down his shield totally. Could be interesting, though. Any reflect damage effects and buffs on the wearer deal 10% more damage to enemies. Could be interesting again for the new boss. Shields placed on the wearer are 10% stronger. Destroy HP effects are 20% less effective against the wearer. And the wearer receives, shame it's not deals, but receives 10% more healing. Okay, what we got here? 2 more sets. Diamond ones. The wearer reduces incoming damage by 10% for each dead ally. It's very situational. The wearer gains 10% turn meter for every time they revive an ally. That's actually pretty decent. That's decent on, like a PvP type reviver. The wearer has 5% chance to get an extra turn when healing an ally with an active skill. That's pretty cool as well. So you push that up to 10%. The wearer gains 25 accuracy for each enemy who has not taken a turn yet. So you could get like an extra 100 accuracy in like an arena fight, something like that, per diamond. So you could end up having like a couple of 100 extra accuracy in an arena battle if you're going first. So that's actually a ton more accuracy. When an ally is killed by an enemy, The wearer's got a 10% chance to decrease the cooldown of one of their skills. When an ally is killed by an enemy, the wearer 10% chance to decrease. So I'm not the person who needs to be hit and obviously killed. I just need to be wearing this. 10% though, it's kind of like very, very RNG heavy at that point. Increases the wearer's turn meter by 3% each time they place a debuff on an enemy. Cannot increase the wearer's turn meter by... I was going to say then, what about someone like a Calvalax? Calvalax straight away, 20% turn meter at the start of a round. Interesting. Okay. The wearer's default steel will ignore 10% resistance. The wearer's increases the wearer's speed by 5 for each enemy under some sort of control. Whereas accuracy increases by 30 when removing buffs. It's pretty cool, actually. So what they're saying there, I guess it's fairly small. 30 is not a lot. And then 30 resistance is kind of whatever. Every time the wearer receives healing from a steel, increases the wearer's max HP by up to 10%. Could be pretty good for your tanks. Allies revived by the wearer are additionally healed by 10% of the wearer's HP. Could be quite a lot. Could be like an extra 10k heal. Allies revived by the wearer additionally healed. Yeah, so you could get like a 10 to 15k heal from that when you get revived. It's pretty good. Wearer's accuracy increases by 3 for each buff. When the wearer heals an ally with a steal, the heal is 10% more effective. Wearer's speed increases by 2 for everyone who is dead. And the wearer restores destroyed max HP. Oh, sorry, when the wearer restores destroyed max HP, the restore is 25% more effective. Last set then. Increases the wearer's accuracy by 40 when using turn meter reduction. Pretty decent. When the wearer is forced to miss their turn, the damage received by them is decreased by 30%. So is that including like a debuff goes off on you like a stun? You missed your turn? If it is, pretty strong actually. 30% less damage. Increases the wearer's accuracy by 40 when using increased cooldown effects. So like a Warlord or a Yumiko could get up to like 80 more accuracy to do that job. And then you've got the reverse here with resistance. The wearer receives 5% turn meter each time an enemy resists a debuff placed by the wearer. Cannot gain more than 20% turn meter in a turn. It's pretty nuts as well if you set it up right. The wearer's got a 10% chance to prevent their skills being placed on cooldown during an extra turn. I don't even fully understand what that means. The wearer's got a 10% chance to prevent their skills being placed on cooldown during an extra turn. I'm not fully understanding what that means, honestly. I'm guessing if someone's got an extra turn mechanic, they've got a chance that when they're doing the skill, it's not going to go on cooldown. I'm guessing. Whenever the wearer's HP drops below 50%, 10% chance to reduce the cooldown of a random active skill by 1. That's quite cool. But it's only 10% again, so it's not that high. The wearer receives 5% turn meter each time they resist a debuff, up to 20. Whereas resistance increases by 5 whenever a debuff is placed on them, up to 40. Again, like, if you're taking debuffs, then you've not built yourself well for resisting. The wearer gains 10% turn meter after taking an extra turn, which is quite cool. Fills the wearer's turn meter by 10% when their HP drops below 50. Again, quite cool. Wearer's resistance increases by 30 against buff removal and buff steal. Wearer gains 3% turn meter whenever an enemy loses 25% of their health. Cannot gain more than 20% turn meter in a turn. So if someone nukes the enemy, you can get a 20% turn meter fill on like your support. Damn, that's actually really good. The wearer's turn meter increases by 5% faster when they are forced to miss a turn. So again, interesting when you've got like debuffs on you that stop you taking turns. Wearer's resistance increases by 3 for each buff on them. Kind of whatever. The wearer's turn meter increases by 3% whenever the wearer fails to place a debuff. Cannot increase the wearers by more than 20%. So, I mean, damn, there's so much going on. There's obviously some like big hitting new relics, which are going to be strong for damage dealers and strong for supports. And then the gems, really, it's going to take a while for us to collect a load of these gems, but situational depending on what you're trying to do with your champ. But it's almost like I'm picking a blessing that makes sense. That's the relic. And then I'm picking masteries which are specific to that blessing. It's like another round robin of those type of upgrades. Now, for people that have played the game for a long time and already understand the systems in this game, this is probably going to be like, oh, this is very cool. I know I'm in that boat. I'm like, damn, there's a lot of cool stuff here that you could do with your champs, which is going to make them more effective in content, more likely to be able to solo stuff, like all of that type of thing is all going to happen. I do fear, though, for new players, honestly. Like, this game now is stacked with stuff to understand. Like, I guess it makes websites like hellhades.com even more relevant, which is good for me and good for the team and that type of stuff. But flipping heck, coming in as a new player, there's a lot. It is a lot to get your head around. Like, you know, best in slot for every single champion on RELICS. And then what's their best in slot gems? Like, it's a ton of stuff to wrap your brain around, honestly. Very, very intensive. But look, let's see where it goes. And yeah, let me know what you think. What's your favorite ones? Let us know. No doubt we will be doing some tier list action once we decide, you know, which of these are going to be strongest and we played around with them a bit more. But RELICS 101, done. I'll see you soon.